Hello. Hello. I think I need to raise this up a little higher. Hello. Hello and welcome back to the CQ. I'm your host, CourtneyQuarantine. If you're new here, hi, this is my podcast. We have returned. I will stop saying that after a couple episodes, I promise. But the CQ is back in full swing and I'm so happy to have you here. So welcome. Buckle up, sit down, grab a snack, get some water, get a drink, get a beverageino. If you're multitasking, if you're body doubling, if you're watching intently, whatever it is you're doing, thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna get right into it. The last episode was kind of like the intro episode back into the podcast, which for those of you who are new here, I used to run a podcast. I started back in November of 2020 and took a little bit of a break, took a few breaks. And I am so excited to be back making these, especially because if you're watching here on my channel, for those of you who are watching both visually and listening audibly, thank you so much. If you're just listening, shout out to y'all as well. I will try to do my best to kind of describe anything that I might be showing. I don't imagine that I will be showing any things today, but also, you know, you could see my cute little dress that I have on. My makeup is very slay. I'm actually wearing the entirety of both of my collections, actually, except I think I might switch up the lip to have like all of the entirety of my collections on just to be cute, just to be kind of cute, because I love that. So maybe like midway through the episode, I'll change it, because right now I'm just wearing a blue balm with a little bit of lip liner, and that is not blended right there. Okay, perfect. Anyway, so welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. If you like this kind of content, if you like the podcast, please consider subscribing. If you like any other kind of like long form makeup tutorials, so on and so forth, I do have those as well. So again, I would love to have you here. Check to see if you're subscribed as well, because I know sometimes it'll just kind of continually show you like my videos. It's very strange, but yeah, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, if you want to comment something that you want to chat about or predict something that I will talk about other than space. We all know I'm going to talk about space. I'm obsessed with space. But anyway, I'm so excited. So this is technically episode 2 of the new year, and I've got some things I want to say. I'm going to start mainly with some beauty topics because it's just been something that I've been talking about more often recently, and there's just more chatter. I think because of the like new makeup trends in 2025 and predictions that's just kind of happening. I spoke a little bit about those in the last episode, whether it be overconsumption and individualism with makeup and just kind of like following what you're feeling with makeup versus following mini trends and micro trends, which I will probably talk about that honestly every episode. I feel like every episode that's going to come up where I will be shouting, stop following mini micro trends. Stop following the micro trends. They will only leave you feeling like shit. Actually, you know what? We can start off there. I'll do a little tangent about that because micro trends and just tiny little trends that come and go very, very quickly. It seems like sometimes it's by the day. More likely, it's kind of like week-ish. I think depending on the micro trends that you're watching, I just have a real issue with them because I think yet again, just like hand in hand with overconsumption, it leaves people feeling kind of empty. It leaves you just kind of chasing a high of like some random trend that people sometimes, often, don't realistically wear. Now, I have been known to dabble in a couple of microtrends because they're fun and they're cute. Namely, the most recent one that I can even think of, actually the only real one that I can think about doing is the Beetlejuice lips in 2024. That was cute. I like that. I like the look of it. I like the vibe. It kind of reminded me of like zebra print or like, I don't know. I didn't really see like, I get the Beetlejuice-esque-ness of it, but it was more like, I don't know, zebra print to me. It just seemed like kind of cute and I wanted to try it. I wanted to see what it would look like, frankly, and it was fun. It was fun. I will include the creator that I saw do it in the first place. I think we're mutuals. I will include them somewhere. And if I don't, please remind me because give credit where credit is due. But anyway, micro trends I think can be fun to kind of spark your creativity for one thing or another. But like for the majority of them, they're so fast. They're so fleeting. They're not usually, sometimes they're not based on like any kind of like there's no foundation to them. They're just like kind of random, and I don't see people like rocking those mini micro trends out and about. So depending on where you live, I have lived a couple places and moved around just a little bit in my life, and you can really tell in states. I'm not even talking about like cities and towns. You can definitely tell in cities and towns, particularly when they're isolated and when there's not a lot of people there and when like the vibe is just kind of weird. But cities and towns and states that where people aren't wearing a lot of makeup, people aren't experimenting with their makeup, you can tell, at least I can tell, I can feel it in states. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I've left some of the areas that I lived in. There was just like a lack of culture, there was a lack of art, there's a lack of like self-expression, but there's also like things that I wasn't vibing with. So anyway, in Microtrends, there were never a time that I saw people wearing Microtrends or wearing the Microtrends makeup out and about. I have never once seen Beetlejuice lips out and about. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. That doesn't mean that it is like wrong to try, wrong to do, wrong to wear out. That is not that at all. But as a person who frequents areas where people are wearing a lot of makeup, I just haven't seen those. And usually it is on TikTok. Like let's be so honest right now. I think we're all thinking it. If we're not all saying it, we're thinking it. 9 times out of 10, these trends that start on TikTok that are just so fleeting just don't last. It's some random thing that maybe went viral, or it's really cool, or it's some kind of, quote unquote hack. And it just, I don't know. I feel like there have been very few of those that I feel inclined to even try. And this isn't me being like, ooh, me and all of my makeup knowledge, and because I know better than everyone because I like my makeup the way I like my makeup. It's like legitimately, I look at these trends and I'm like, I wouldn't wear that. That's not for me. That's not a style for me. That's not a tip for me. That's not a trick for me. That's not even something that would be helpful for me in the way that I do my makeup. And I invite you to critically look at these trends with a lens that is your own, very much your own perspective. Think about if that's like a color you like, a texture you like, a tone that you like, a kind of like energy vibe. Back to, again, what I mentioned in the last episode of like following kind of like your energy with a look, following the kind of like feeling versus what color palette everyone is using at the moment. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like when there are launches and then everyone gets excited about like, let me be biased here for a second. Grungecore. When grungecore came out, and even still now, right now as I'm filming this, I have just started seeing people like trickle in, making their grungecore looks. I will always love seeing grungecore looks. In every way, in every combination. I literally love that. I'm not so much talking about that, although I feel like I do have a little bit of bias in this because I'm like, let's all not talk about the same thing for a week and da-da-da. I hope people talk about grungecore forever. I hope that it's not one of those things that's a quick burn and that it's a fleeting moment and it's a flash in the pan and we're moving on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? At least for me, because that is my collection and it wasn't done with any trends in mind. I know some people are like, oh, you did this lip because of Mocha Mousse in, Pantone color of the year. Nope. This color was actually made long before that even was announced by Pantone. And I'll admit that I don't try to fit in, at least for the small amount of makeup that I've made. I guess it's not a small amount because I do have 10 products now out in the real world with Mob, which is incredible. Having 2 collections with them, incredible. But like none of the products that I have made have come from a trend, trying to see what's going to be popular so I can, because I feel like that would feel fake. At least for me, I feel like that would feel very weird or like very strangely motivated in a way that wouldn't sit right. I don't think that would sit right in like my gut. I think that makes me it makes me recoil. Let me also go ahead and say, if there are people out there, and well, there are people out there are whole companies out there that base their decisions on the makeup that they're making because of trends. That's none of my business. Truly, wholeheartedly, I've said this once, I'll say it again. What other people are doing with the makeup that they're wearing and the makeup that they're making is none of my business. It's literally none of my business. When given the opportunity to do the things that I do and to have the collabs that I have, I'm going to do it my way. And I think sometimes it is like very intense. I take it on in such a like dramatic way, but I think I would much rather have like grungecore palette be out in the world and be like, oh my God, my heart and soul, these colors mean so much to me and I search for them all the time and I get them in this perfect way now. I get them in this perfect palette with this perfect lip and they're just together and they're But anywho, all this to say, I think trends can be fun in bringing people together or maybe inspiring someone to get out of their comfort box, or their comfort zone and their box. I mix those together. Okay, great. But as far as letting trends kind of lead you in what makeup you're wearing relying only on microtrends and teeny tiny trends that will only be here for a brief moment and we will not remember these. Not because of our memories, because my memory, I can't remember anything, but like we will not look back at 2024 and think about like strawberry milk nails or whatever You know what I'm saying? Or at least I won't. I know I won't. I feel like a lot of us, it could be fun, but we're kind of tired. Like, it's like, Jesus Christ, there's another thing this week. And it almost starts to feel like more of an assignment and a chore versus something that's like a creative outlet and fun. If you're feeling like a trend is a creative outlet and fun, I encourage you to follow that, but kind of go through it with a little bit of a lens, a little bit of a filter between yourself and whatever it is that you're watching. I really, really highly encourage you to do so because it will feel so much better. Another thing too that I really, really love about makeup and that people are sharing, and I think the whole conversation of like being like, you know, quote unquote more real or more genuine, people are always saying that they like that and they enjoy that. And I think some people tend to like offer a look into their lives in these little ways. And I want to talk about something that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Now, I know once like big brands sometimes turn these things to a trend and then they try to do it in like their weird cheesy way. I'm like, no, you've ruined it. You made it stupid. But there is a certain thing that I feel like I will always enjoy because it gives me a thrill. It gives me a like excited electric feeling. And that is seeing the contents of someone's like purse or their makeup bag, their travel makeup. It is thrilling to me. It is literally like looking in a window to their makeup soul. Is that dramatic of me? Yes. Do some people care less about what makeup they bring with them? Sure. But I will always love when people are like, here's what's in my makeup bag. Here's the lipsticks I've been taking around with me since, you know, whatever. Here is the, you know, very specific travel kit here, or like makeup kit. Professional makeup kits are very exciting, but I want to know people who pick out very specific things, and it's like they have one or two lip liners that are like their ride or dies. They are never seen without them. They have like one or two maybe lipsticks and or lip gloss kind of combination with them, and then they have like a powder, a compact, a bronzer that they've used up. The pan is almost completely showing. I love that. Watching people's patterns with how they use their makeup, the way in which products pan for them. Oh my God, there's a whole psychology behind this too. And now I remember years ago, like I think I was a teenager, maybe early preteen, maybe preteen. I remember seeing this thing about like lipstick shapes. Now this is a thing that's been talked about a lot, and I saw some stories about this recently. I saw many of my friends and mutuals reshared the same thing, and I was like, oh my God, again, thrilled. But many years ago, I remember seeing my mother's lipstick, and it had this crazy swoop to it. It literally looked like the Grinch, like the Grinch's mountain, how it's like swooped up like that. You know what? Actually, maybe I should Google a picture to like double check to see what that looks like. Hold on. I need to give you the correct visual here. Yeah, it literally looked like the Grinch mountain. Like it was like so swooped over, and I could not believe, as a child, this fascinated me. And I remember watching people put on lipstick, like whether I was out in public or whether I was like, you know, getting lost at a mall or whatever it was, anytime I would walk into like a public restroom and see like women putting on lipstick. Oh my God. I so visually remember seeing like my mother put on lipstick in the mirror, and I was just like, whoa, you're painting on your face with this thing, and I want that. Now, it took me many years to actually love lipstick on myself. That's a whole other conversation. But like, I really was enamored by that. But the thing that I think fascinated me the most that I remember too was the shape of it. It looked crazy, dude. It looked nothing like the other lipsticks that I'd seen in magazines, in stores, the ones that I picked up in Sephora, like the testers. It looked so bizarre to me. And then I remember seeing like the whole psychology of like how people had like used down their lipstick and what shape it gave and what that says about you. Now, sometimes these kind of articles have been written. I don't know if there was one in like Nylon magazine, which, oh my God, Nylon magazine, please, if you used to look at Nylon magazine or you remember Nylon magazine, let me know in the comments because I see you, bestie. But anywho, I remember reading about this and I was just like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I never thought about that. And I used to have a friend who would pinch their lips together, put on their lipstick, and it made like a triangle. Like, it was crazy. And so I think it's always fascinating to see how people pan down their products, how they use it. If they're using like, if there's a circular pan and they use only one corner or it's right in the center, or if it's a cream product, if it's swirled around, or if they're like punching a brush into this palette, because you can tell. It's so fascinating to me. Also, again, I'm gonna invite you to look at your own makeup and to see how you pan products or see how you use your lipstick. I need to find that article and at least put it in the description because it was so just interesting to me. I think these things that interest me about makeup is 99.9% of the time, it's how we're all connected with makeup. And I think that's a really cool like phenomenon that's happened with makeup and just artistry stuff in general. I think art connects all of us, whether you think it's creative how you put your makeup on or not. I think that it is. I think that it always will be. For so long, I was like, makeup is like painting on your face. And when people would ask like, oh, what made you fall in love with makeup or how long have you loved this? I'm like, I've loved this forever, because as soon as I realized again that I could paint on my face, it was incredibly exciting. It was incredibly exciting, and it's only gotten more and more and more and more and more and more and more exciting as the years have gone by. So how people use down their makeup is just so interesting. How people use up their fragrances, how people layer the fragrances. That's actually a whole other topic. I could talk about that. Fragrance being the thing are like, is it ocular? No, ocular is eyes. What is the nose? Olfactory glands? What am I thinking of? Basically, our smell being like the biggest trigger to memory is wild to me. I'm an incredibly visual person. I am a huge like visual learner as well. So like sometimes I have to be like, I need to see this. I need to see this with my eyes. I can visually see things in my head. I dream very vividly in color. Like I have incredibly vivid dreams just in general, but I am like, I want to be able to see this. It's the same way as like, I can even simplify it, take it away from beauty and think back to like times at university where I would write down my notes. Even though I could type them in my computer and that would be faster, I needed to have the memory tied to writing down my notes and having it. Oftentimes I wouldn't even go back to my notes because the act of writing it down as I was hearing, as I was visually seeing, whether a PowerPoint or the lecture or the professor like talking about it and then writing it down, was enough for me. So having visuals is incredibly important. Why was I talking about this? Oh, the senses thing, but like hearing things as well. Sometimes like for names, for instance, I'll be like, please tell me your name audibly so I can hear it and repeat it. I'm like a freaking parrot. That's the echo, baby. I know that. But like I have to hear it to be able to repeat. But having sense be like your sense of smell take you back to a place, a person, a time in your life. It is one of those things that like, again, have I ever had an original experience in my life? Probably not, but that's okay. I think we all have had original experiences in like tiny little tweaks and ways, but to be able to relate to like, hey, I wear a different fragrance during each season or each year, or you know, how often it is, you ever reach a point in your life where you're like, I need to change my fragrance because that will help me move through this chapter of my life. If you relate to that, again, I see you, bestie. There have been times where I'm like, I have worn this perfume up, and it's not necessarily for a bad reason, but I'm like, I have worn this fragrance for so long, and I need to kind of like shed myself of this skin, of this like, you know, so to speak, metaphorically, and move to the next chapter. And to do that, I need a fresh scent. I need something to kind of shake up my senses ever so slightly, even while I keep my senses that I like in the same category, whether it be like spicy and sweet and so on and so forth. That can stay the same, but I need something new. And sometimes I will start doing that. I'll start being like, I need a new fragrance. I would like a new fragrance. Or like, maybe I can find some like, you know, affordable little fragrance over here and like, I will start doing that before I've even realized that like my mental state is in that kind of a place, which is fascinating. Dude, I feel like there are so many ways that like my system and my body, or like my choices and my kind of whatever, are telling me things sometimes before I've even caught up. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, using up fragrances and watching people kind of use up certain palettes, or you know, if you're creating your own kind of thing, whether it be like a custom palette or what have you, it is so interesting to me. It's so interesting to see what colors people put together. I love when people have a very distinct color palette that they love. It is truly invigorating. If I could look into every single human's favorite kind of color palette, and I'm not talking about the summer, winter, spring, fall bullshit. No. Pink. I don't want anything to do with that. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. I don't care where you went and got it done. Don't care. I am not abiding by that. I do think there is space for it. I think it's a cute little fun thing to do, but I am not going to live my life and, base my appearance and my apparel on a stranger telling me that I'm a winter. I will not be doing that. If you love that, and if that's your truth, Pookie, you go. You have fun with that. And I hope that it brings you so much joy. But I hope that like, it gets into the space of like people who are like, oh, well, I've been told that I can only like these colors and only like these things, but I really love like gray or something. And they're like, but gray, it's just so taboo. I could never go outside my box. Oh my God. Bust down the door of the box. Be free. Go, my friend, go. But it's stuff like that like I hear that sometimes. And it's just like, oh my God, no. I want people to just be free of the shackles of like the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. On the opposite side of the coin of that though, I will say it is quite fun to look at the evolution of people's color palettes and when they finally figure out like what they really like the most. And it could change. It very well could change from year to year, from day to day, from time to time, whatever it may be. But it is really, really interesting to see what people like. Now, I think we've talked about like, well, at least I've talked about in many places, the orangification that has happened with makeup and people kind of clamoring and wanting more cool tones lately has really been such a breath of fresh air, because I remember literally as a child not really knowing the concept of like cool tones, which cool and warm tones, and saying that kind of like verbiage is a little unhelpful sometimes, because what people are really wanting is like a more desaturated tone, a muted tone, a this, a that. And Vic and I have actually talked about this many times in the labs, and it's so like reassuring to hear about, because it's not just cool and warm. And people have different views, and people, their eye cones see colors differently, and what they have on them is going to look different from someone else because of undertones and because of their skin tone and because of the depth and because of so on and so forth. There's so many factors. So being younger and not knowing really that there was even a possibility of makeup that was cooler toned, or that was more gray or desaturated or muted. And if there was, I certainly wasn't seeing it. I missed the era of like, people always talk about like 90s cool tones. And I look back at pictures of that and that looks divine. Those look freaking good. But there are these little pockets of like makeup that has come up in little tiny ways, in little tiny collections. And I feel like people freak out about it. And it makes me so excited. But basically, I think when the market is having more demand for things like this, when people are talking about it in a really, really, really big way, it makes me hopeful and it gets me excited. Again, going back to like seeing what people reach for time and time again, and it now being 2025 when you're watching this, I am really excited to hopefully see people follow through with like keep sharing the things that they've used up. And I talked a little bit about overconsumption in the last episode, but I do think the like shop your stash, use what you have to kind of push your creativity, I hope to see that. I intend to have that at least in my spaces and my places, but I think it offers just more of an insight to how we use things and how we really have a closer tie to the makeup that we are using. I say this all the time, but I do collect makeup in a certain way, but I collect it in a way that is very specific to me, not just in a way to have a bunch of launches, have every single line from a launch because of that. I'm just going to bring up these eyeliners really quickly because I love these so much. I think this is one of the best like eyeliners on the market, and it can do so many things and it works well. I talked about versatility like a lot, but this is another one of those things that like I am always so thrilled to see how people use these melt slickline water pencils. Literally every single mutual I know that has at least a similar style to mine or more alternative leaning is obsessed with these. I have been obsessed with these since these launched. So good, but I feel like pushing the potential to how I use these has been really fun. At first I was like, oh, waterline? Yeah, for sure. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to wear this as a smudgy eyeliner. Now, wait a minute, what if I wear it like this? And then I saw Dana using this as a concealer, and I was like, I got to try that. And using these on your face, using these to contour, using these to add a little like snatch in somewhere, whatever it may be. Oh my God, dude, they're so slick, as the name would suggest, but like the way that they smudge out so fast, so incredibly fast, they are unbelievably creamy. And then they set down, and then they're fine. And then they're just the smoky, lovely gorgeousness if you choose to smoke these out. Now, I have worn these as wings as well, but I find products like this, when I see people with tiny little teeny tiny ones of this, I've gone through a couple of these, but like when I see someone that has like a teeny tiny one, what do you use that for, bestie? What are you doing with that slickline water pencil? I need to know. If you're just putting that in your line, in your waterline, perfect, good. But if you're like, I use this as who knows what, I put this one on my lips too. This is actually my designated like lip liner one. It's incredibly smudgy. It is so grunge. I love black lip liner. You probably know this. If you don't, hey, I love black lip liner. This is the black and the rich brown one. This is just the packaging. Rich brown is probably my favorite. I'm obsessed with it. They used to have an olive one. I don't think they have the olive anymore, but they do have a caramel, an ivory, and a white. This has randomly gone into like a random like review of this. If you do want to see my favorites of 2024, let me know. If I haven't already like posted that or, you know, made like a favorites of 2024 kind of series or something, let me know if you still want to see that, because I don't think because it's 2025, again, while you're watching this, I don't think because it's 2025, I can't talk about my favorites from the last year. People get really weird about like those deadlines, and I would say, who says I can't do it whenever I want? That's right. Who's the one editing and running this channel? That's right. So anyway, I don't feel any rush to do that, but if you want to see that, let me know. I have a lot of favorites that I quite love, but anywho, I just wanted to kind of mention these. I really love eyeliner. Eyeliner was the first thing that I fell in love with wearing on myself. So lipstick was the first thing visually I saw that I was like, wow, enamored. But eyeliner on myself. Now listen, another thing that I want to note, another topic that I want to talk about is the trends that make you feel like shit. So this kind of goes on with microtrends and mini stupid bullshit trends. And I have literally made separate videos where I talk about this exactly, but I'm just going to sneak it in here again because it makes me, talking about eyeliner makes me think of this. And I remember looking back at pictures of the time that I just like I put so much eyeliner around my eyes. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I used to be like, Jesus Christ, like I did not know how to do makeup. And then I realized that that is mean, and that talking so like in a bully manner about past me, little me, we don't need to do that. Hey, we don't need to do that. So when all of the trends that were going around were like, oh, you were blush blind, oh, you were eyeliner blind, you look like shit and you didn't know it, I so fiercely hate those. And I don't use that word lightly. When people are like, oh, hate's so harsh, I'm like, I know. I will never like a trend that is just capitalizing on making people feel like shit and making people feel like they have to go buy something, some blush, because they were blush blind before. But if you wear this blush, you'll be cool and you'll be wearing the cool blush that everyone else is wearing because we all fucking look the same. Girl, those kinds of trends, those trends that are like, let's pull up pictures of you where you were fucking ugly. Whoa, let's not do that. There is so much like self-hate and self-doubt and stuff that people have put themselves through, particularly femme-presenting people. It's enough. It's enough. I'm not saying that that is the only group of people that deals with this, but like the media as a whole, that's enough. So when social media takes a hold of like, oh, let's make this trend to make you feel like shit about your past makeup and then, you know, make you feel better because now you know, whatever, you're following this trend with all of us and you're cool and you could sit with us. Ooh, really burns my toast. I'll tell you what. I just think that those things can all go away. All go away. I don't want to hear blush blind. I do not care, because here's the thing. Here's the real kicker. In those times where I was wearing eyeliner to an ungodly degree, I loved it. I felt good. I felt hot. I loved how I was presenting myself that day and how I looked when I looked back in the mirror. So I'm not gonna let some random person online be like, remember when you were stupid? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've done enough of that. I have done enough of like making myself feel bad for no reason. We're not doing that anymore. That's out in 2025. I know that I'm just kind of repeating myself, but in case that you missed that video or in case you haven't heard me talk about any of this before, truly, wholeheartedly, do not like those trends. And I hope that if you see them, maybe it's just a laugh, maybe it's silly, but I don't agree with it. I don't agree with just any unnecessary, like, negative self-talk, because there's just too much. It's too much. Life, there's so many things going on in life. There's so much stuff going on constantly that it's just, again, plainly put, unnecessary. Oh, I'm literally sweating thinking about that because it's just, I just really don't like it. It kind of makes me sad because I think about people who really treasure their time in their makeup creativeness and in their creative outlet. It is more like ritualistic for people, and it is cathartic, and it is the time to be like, you know, this therapeutic thing where you're sitting down and you're doing your routine and you love your routine, I hope. And if you don't love your routine, I hope that you start to love your routine and you figure out ways that like really it brings you joy, even if you're rushed, even if you've got a couple minutes to get, you know, whatever look together to, you know, run out the door. I hope that you like those 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, however long it takes you to do your makeup, whatever kind of look that you're doing. I hope you're sincerely enjoying it. I forgot to switch my lip. Let me do that right now. I'm just going to put all of my lips on, all of my lips that are out in the market right now, which is 148, 149, and 171. I'm going to start with 171. This is 154B, not that one. I love that one. 171. Let's go. 171 hot, just a tiny little bit. 148. Yup, I know that's right. gonna blot. I've had like 100 different lip products on today, and I don't feel like taking it off like all completely. I'm gonna take a little bit of black lip liner, a little bit of Blue Balm, 149. Yeah. Anyway, I hope all of that was crystal clear. It was just a couple of brief topics to kind of yap about that I've talked about a couple of times before, but I really am so intrigued by people using their makeup, how they use it, what their color palettes are, like what their favorite kind of like go-to stuff is. I used to think like when I was at the height of using like incredibly colorful, bold looks, I'm talking like blues, pinks, greens, purples, really bright, really vibrant looks. I was like, oh my God, how could anyone ever get excited about like a brown, smoky brown? Hey, turns out it's me. Anytime I get like I run across this like muted tone of eyeshadow or blush, holy crap, dude. I think it's so interesting to see how my style and my preferences have kind of like evolved, but been very core at the same time. So like, let's take this bronze shade, for example. Like this bronze idea of bronze, like bronze eyeshadow has really been something that I've always loved. Red eyeshadow has always been something that I really love. Again, not to talk about grungecore completely and all the time, and Jesus Christ, we get it, but I'm proud of it and I love it a lot. But it is really those things where like, I am so invigorated to see staple used products down to the core, down to the last remnants of it using. I would much rather see that. That's so much more exciting to me than someone being like, this is my favorite palette ever, and there is not a swatch on any single one of those shades. Again, not to throw shade at just like people who are making makeup content, but like that is such a sure sign to me that they just don't use it. And it's not even believable. It's not even whatever. It's not even like when I show you this milkweed and I'm like, I love this product, you're gonna look at this. I would hope you would look at this and be like, really? Because that looks like the same size as when you got it. But if I were like, hey, I love this and I've already gone through one of these and lost it, you know. If I'm like, hey, I lost this thing 100 million times on here, in these spaces, just know that is a sure sign that I'm obsessed with something. Do you know how many times I have lost M102 by Jessica Hayes? I have lost that lipstick so many times. I got a backup and then I purchased another backup because I was losing. I had 2 of them and then I had 4. I even have a hard time finding 102 now. Same thing with all of my lips. All of the things that I've made, I have misplaced so many times. My Necromancy Cosmetica lipsticks, lose those all the time. I have lost many Unearthly things. I lose Black Moon Cosmetics stuff constantly, particularly their liquid lips and a lot of their satins. There are some eyeliners that I've repeatedly lost throughout the years. There are so many melt lipsticks that I've misplaced throughout the years. Oh my dear Lord, I have misplaced lace from Melt Cosmetics about 1,000 times. About 1,000 times, dude. So it's these little things that I find so interesting, whether it be me losing things or like people wearing down their lipstick in a swoop-de-swoop shape. It is just, it's fascinating how we use makeup and how we share it together, like again, throughout space and time. This has always been something that's been really exciting to me, and I have literally fallen in love with a lot of creators this year, namely because they have spoken about things in the way that like resonate with me. And that is kind of why I follow those people, because it's just like, you get it. And we're on the same page about this. Now, is it exactly the same page? You could argue that it's not, but also there is just a certain like vibe and energy about this. And I hope that it starts spreading to like the masses and the overall population of people who are using makeup to really treasure and like fall in love with the makeup that they're using and see what kind of weird lipstick shape you make, if it's like totally flat on top or if it's dunked in the middle or whatever it may be. I look at like a lot of my, especially my like mob stuff that's like really panned, M80 being one of them. I will pretty much, any of these pans, I pan in this way, like this shape and this size. This is pretty much what it looks like at the end, but seeing like a little pan show through. My cake liners are very unique in the way that I pan them, and it's a funny like little process, but it is so cool seeing just like how people use cake liners differently. It's fascinating. Anyway, I think I've talked enough about like these little topics, and I really have loved getting to, get this out there. And I hope that you join me in the conversation. Please, in the comments, comment anything about these kind of topics that you want to talk about, or if there's something kind of mild wildly related, unrelated, I would love to know. If there's like a topic in particular you would like me to bring up, whether I brought it up on stream or something like that, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep going on with these episodes, and I have absolutely enjoyed being back. Thank you so much for joining me here on the CQ. It's so good to be back on the podcast. It's so nice to sit here and chat with you all and then to engage in conversation afterwards. It is quite lovely, and thank you so much. So as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. I will see you in my next episode. Bye!